Okay, welcome traders to TradeSetup in the live stream for the 24th of April. So we've got the ASX market wrap today. We'll go through some trades, some trade analysis that we've got on the go, and just some actual alerts. So I hope you're all doing well today, having a good day. A few of you are probably guessing going to make it a bit of a long weekend, take day off and have Australia Day tomorrow. So hope you all enjoy. The markets are closed tomorrow, so it could be a fairly muted afternoon. I'll just have to see how it plays out. Now we'll start it off. First things first. G'day Nathan, how are you, mate? Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend also. I had a kind of nice relaxing weekend actually, so it was always good. What we'll do, we'll just go through the usual. So we've got for anyone that's new, I know we've got a few new people coming through. Firstly, we've actually got to change what you'll see on screen. We've got to change that. It's not every day. It's just Mondays and Thursdays at 12:30 or Sydney time. We're just going to go through the stream, and anyone who's new, you're more than welcome to sit down and have a bit of a chat. We're trying to build up a bit of a community, I guess, a community of like-minded traders and people that just want to get in there and have a bit of a chat about different trades, what they're looking at, even just learn, learn some things on the way. There's, we've got myself, Davin, to have a chat to. There's also a lot of different traders in here that are at different levels, so it's always good to, everyone's got a different opinion too and a different view on the market, so it's always good just to sit there in a bit of a community and get different ideas. There's always something that will probably gel with you. So we're just going to try and get that up and running. So anyone that's new, just feel to put in jump onto the chat. You can always put in some questions later on when there's, we're just going to go through, sort of open the forum up to different charts we're looking at or different stocks. It can be anything at all. It doesn't have to be an ASX stock. It can be something in the US, or as long as I can get it, I guess, and have a look at a chart. Or it can be a currency. It can be a few different things. So just put it into the chat, the code, and we'll go over it. The way we started off was obviously talking about what happened on Friday night, as it was this time, and just a bit of a chat about what the market's doing. So we'll get into that now. So the market's actually did open up about 20 to 30 points at one stage. It was quite high, and we're only up about 8. So wouldn't be surprised if it drifts off into the afternoon, considering we've got that day off tomorrow. So I think we'll probably have a bit of a quiet stream today, by the way. Probably keep it a bit shorter. There's not as many people in as normal, but I'd say that market might be a bit quieter going into the end of the session. Now the US, I think really the big thing that caught is, the big thing, I know the elections, they've got the French elections are on, and that's a bit of, there's a bit of uncertainty surrounding that and how that's going to play out. But with regards to the US, the bigger thing is really what Trump was saying about tax reforms. Everyone's waiting for it. They're waiting to see what happens. And I think he shot out an announcement on Friday night at some time, which actually helped support the market. It was a bit negative, so it'd help it sort of get the buyers involved into the close, into the US, and it didn't close down a hell of a lot, really. By the end, it was down more than that coming into that, the news release, or I don't know if it was a news release as such, or more of a rumour, something they were expecting. But he said, Trump actually came out and said they're expecting to release details on the tax reform sometime this week and what it's going to be, but he's expecting it's going to be, he said it's going to be good for companies and individuals, so there's not much more to cover just yet, but we'll see how that plays out and how the market actually takes it once he actually releases it and what details he gives out. So once they've got the details, it'll be interesting to see how the market reacts, because they're pretty much, a lot of it has been priced in. And if it comes out, it's really good and really positive, you probably get that initial thrust higher. Then we'll just have to see how it plays out from there. Still got company reporting in the US to go through, so that's going to be another factor to contend with. So that's that sort of news that came out late Friday night. It was probably early Saturday morning. What's popped our market today? I was expecting it to open more flat than anything else, but it's opened up about 20 points, and we're just drifting. We're holding gains at the moment, just drifting a slightly lower. What we'll take a look at, we've got, just before we get into it, so what we'll go through, obviously the ASX, we'll get into that. It did open a bit higher. We'll see it on the half an hour chart here probably. Intraday, let me just go to the 30-minute chart. Oh, it's pushed up. So we're still holding those high lows on the 30-minute chart, which is looking quite good. You've had that sell-off, lower lows, lower lower highs, push it down to, that little washout of 58, retest down at that zone just here, and then we started popping up, holding some high lows, washing out the most recent lower high, which is somewhere around the 58.40 zone, 35.40 zone, just in here. Washed that out, and we've just held another higher low. That was on Friday, and we popped higher today. So that recent trend is a bit higher, but we'll just have to see what happens if it can just kick on higher, if that's going to become a lower high around 5,900. But I think this news coming out of the US, if that plays out nicely this week, that should give it a bit of support to higher prices, I'd assume. We'll take a look at the S&P in a minute on the, probably the 8, I think it's a 4-hour chart, sorry. We'll have a bit of a look at that. Just to see, I'm still favouring that for a bit of a squeeze. It's not, we initially mentioned a squeeze on this a while ago and it played out beautifully. And the setup was really nice. It's still looking okay. It's just not quite as, how do you say, it's not favouring the short side, as in to squeeze the short positions out. It's not as loaded shorts as they were previously. I think last time we looked at it was 70% short, 30% long. So that was prime for a bit of a short squeeze. I think this time it's a bit higher. It's maybe 60-40, but there's still a fair few people sort of loaded up short. There's always someone jumping in, trying to anticipate a bit of a sell-off and take advantage. The bears, they get a bit ahead of themselves. Rather than wait for a setup, just try to anticipate, and they tend to get caught out a bit. Happens on both sides of the markets, but that's what we're looking for. We'll look at that in just a second. Let's just get over to a chart now. Now that's the S&P there. We'll just start with the ASX. You can see how it's gapped up. Opened up towards that 58.90 zone, up towards 5,900. Just traded through that sort of those previous highs. Not a major key level. I'm not seeing that as a key level anyway, but it is a level, a bit of a resistance zone. Just popped its head through there, and now we're just easing back down again to that 58.56 zone. About 5 points off that now. I was expecting on the open just to push up through that 58.56, but it pretty much gapped up above that. And we're heading maybe just to retest there. We'll just see how it can go. If we can retest there sometime, maybe the next hour or so, and we start building a higher low, again, then we could get a bit of a push up into the close, back up towards that 5,900. Whether we finish up there, we'll see how it goes, because could be a big night tonight in the US. The US, you'll see the S&P CFD is actually gapped up on the open as well. So that's probably heads up that might be a good night in the US tonight. Just have to see how it goes, whether it opens up strong and then sells off into the close, or vice versa. It opens up sort of flat, just bounces around and maybe push up into the close. We'll just see. But there's going to be a lot more emphasis on not so much the fact that Trump's coming out to say something and what he actually says. They're all going to be focused more on what he says. Is it going to be good or bad, rather than just the euphoria of a tax reform, which has happened in the past pretty much since the elections. So this is on the half an hour chart, the ASX. Yeah, like I said, we could just probably retest down there, but we want to see now. You can even drop it down if you're intraday trading, drop it down to a lower time frame, see if we get that higher low and we can push up into the close. Now the pound was, actually we'll go to the S&P before we get on to the currencies. You can see this is a 4-hourly chart, and you can see that's in major contraction really. We've got some lower highs pressing down, but we've also got some higher lows which have been holding pretty well. This is probably the only little, we've had that little push through. Doesn't mean too much just yet, and it's just gapped up into the top end, up into some resistance around that 23.77 on the open today. It's holding up there, but we'll just have to see if that pushes down through the European session and starts holding some higher lows just in there, and that's probably going to be a good little base for them to have a nice positive session in the US tonight. But we'll see how that plays out. But it's still, I think if we can get up through 23.77, probably not tonight, but I think there's still a bit of room to move for some contraction, some work to do, holding some higher lows, and then starting to pressure that upside again and really start to squeeze out those short positions. Because there's been a fair amount of time that's actually right through March and April where it's just been pressing down, or the market's just sort of been pressing down. Shorts have been entering the market, probably getting a bit more confidence because they're getting those high lows in place, but really that overall market's still contracting. We'll just get it back a bit, but that trend is definitely up. We're just in contraction at the moment. I guess there's no reason to be too bullish just yet, or bearish at all. So wait until one side of the market breaks. I'm sort of gearing up for that upside. Just have to see how that reform plays out, and how the numbers come through with their reporting season. Pound. Just quickly go over as a currency. We won't go over too many of the currencies just today. The pound is doing quite well. We alerted to that. We wanted to see this type of price action, but the key level really was 128.46. You can see that, we've got a sloping downtrend resistance line there. However you want to call it. I get a bit confused on what to call it sometimes, but it's just popped its head out through there, and we were expecting, it was oversold. I think it was oversold at that stage. Sorry, it was a bit overbought, so I wanted to see a bit more contraction. I thought it would pop up through 28.46, and that was retails out on, British retail sales out on Friday night. And I expected a bit of argy-bargy in there, maybe a bit of volatility to come in. The market just sold off. It's just retested support, but it has held. It's rejected that support zone. You can see that really pushed down to this little spike low, which got bought up, and then it had another little go here, but it's just a minor higher low, and it's worked back up into that 28.46 zone. So really it's going into consolidation more than anything else. So really, if right where we are now, you can see that it's gone to oversold. It's getting a bit extended to the downside. We are potentially in a nice little area to build that higher low. So I think we're on the 30-minute chart actually. That's right. I would expect if that's a nice area just to start, we start getting some little minor high lows, a bit of push to the upside, and see if we can just break out potentially. I guess the next thing, if you're looking at a potential trade on this, is the way I'd be viewing this just at the moment. Oh, come on. Is just to pop up through there and start looking for that shoulder trade, like we said, just that little minor high low to work an entry off, just so you know where your risk is. But this looks like it's a nice area for a potential high low to build, and that to really push up through 28.46 and start attacking these highs at 129 even. So that could be a good little trade in that. There is a fair few shorts still built up on this. They got washed out initially, so originally when we looked at it here, we didn't expect that move. I was looking for something more of a decent setup. It didn't quite play out, but you did get that really squeezing those short positions out. So I think it was about 70% short at that stage. Right back here, if you can see that. I just realised I haven't got my face on it. It doesn't matter. You can see that's really expecting them to... The shorts were squeezed, sorry. The short positions were squeezed out. It was about 70-40 then, 70% shorts. Now it's probably more like 60-40, but there's still that potential energy for them to squeeze back out and really put pressure on those short positions, especially if there's a few shorts, extra shorts been building up through here. It really is just consolidation through here, and the overall longer-term trend is up. That's really just washing out. It's probably washed out a few traders that have gone short with a break of the previous low. So this previous low being through here at 127.75. It's washed them out, and it's starting to pop back into the range. So it's a nice little sign after that washout, a potential area to build that high low and go up. But we'll see how that plays out. Anyway, any questions just on that? We're going to click it over to... we looked at the S&P. So what we're going to just do now is just really have a bit of a squeeze. Let me just change that. There we go. I've even got a nice shirt on for everyone today. Is anyone trading the currencies much, or we mainly just... Everyone, I guess, is just focused on the ASX at the moment? Because there's quite a few opportunities in those currencies. They're quite good. I know you're having a bit of a crack at it, aren't you, Nathan? What do we got? Let's just take a look at some of the alerts we've got running at the moment. We've got New Farm. Let's just go over that. SC2, look at that. New Farm, that's going beautifully. I really like... You can see that price structure. I always forget roughly where that entry was. Let me get the chart up. All right. Oh, no. Okay, that's the original alert. You can see that the original alert through there is just with that push up at 970, just breaking out of that contraction, holding higher lows. We're looking for more continuation. Did pull back, build another high low, sort of retest back in the zone, which is just in here. was rejected in there. That built that high low, so really would have been another nice little entry. Probably, I'd say probably today, just with the open above that 975 zone. It's gone on with it and trade up through 990, which is looking really good at the moment. The weekly still looks quite strong, and if you had higher lows, and it's coming off a really nice base where it really spent a lot of time through 2015, the start of 2016, just touching down at 650, then held that higher low in here, which has led to a nice little run higher. So really, if you take from that low, say $4 up to about $9, that's a $5 range potentially. From 650 up to, what does it take us, 1150. So it could still push. There could be a few legs in this just off that weekly chart, up to somewhere around 1150. So we'll just have to see how that plays out. I really like this chart. I reckon it looks really nice. It really is ideal. You got that sort of scoop, I guess you'd call it, that cup we're talking about. So it spent a lot of time sort of holding below resistance. It started testing it and pulling right back into the zone, and then it came out quite strong with this little candle here, popped up through that resistance zone quite strong, and then it's pulled back, held those high lows, and we jumped in, and it's just taken off the last couple of days, so it's looking great. I'm geared up for that, really pushing up through $10 the next couple of days, or day or so, but we'll see how it goes. So I like that one. I do like that one. BWX is another. We've had a crack at this a few times in the past. If anyone's been following us for a while, BWX has been nice to us. Actually, really nice. We'll get the chart up on this one. Has anyone had an eye on BWX? This is an alert. There was 2 that triggered today, actually. So anyone that's actually not on TradeSetup, on the actual app, you're probably getting a bit of a heads up, bit of a bonus here for the stream. But 2 of them triggered today. It was SAS and BWX. We'll go through SAS in a minute. I like that price structure too. It's got a major level here we're going to contend with. Hopefully, but this nice, you can see that's had one leg down. It pushed back up. We actually traded in here. We bought it in here, made a little gain, but it really wasn't looking too strong for a nice move higher. And that's just, I guess that's the reason why you've got to be, sometimes get a bit aggressive on your exits, on your risk. Just because if things don't look good, I'm always more inclined to tighten up my risk rather than just leave it to see how it goes. Because there's going to be times when, okay, you can tighten up your risk, you can get chopped out, but you can always get back in if it starts to set up again or if it looks good. But it's always nicer to tighten up your risk. And if you do get chopped out, I mean, through here we could have been waiting for another another entry, which didn't play out and it got hammered and it took out that load. So there was another leg down. So at that stage, we took a little gain on that, but nothing significant. We traded it through here as well, did quite well. But it's had its second leg down, and then you've got all this period through here, so a couple of months into the end of 2016. Just really chopping in there, but you can see it was starting to push down, holding some lower highs and pressing in, but it was getting soaked up in here. That selling was starting to get soaked up, and this last real price action, the end of last year, start of this year, those few days, we're on a daily, yep. It really started soaking up, and you can see that little spike up through some recent highs on the daily chart, and that buyers was soaking up the selling, and then the selling was starting to step aside a bit, and we got that little push up, and that was starting to look really strong, and we had that contraction back in, again holding at high low, buyers soaking up any selling that was coming in, and another push up, and this is what I really like. I like that top price action. You can see it was holding up near those highs, just below $5. We can drill that in a bit. That's nice, and it's holding. It held 480 quite nicely, so it wasn't. I guess at that stage, if you were thinking about buying it, and you'd want to see a deeper correction, potentially down at 470 or below those MAs, a nice little move down. Just ideally, just get a better price. But when it holds that level and it gets soaked up, and you just get some consolidation over a period of say a month or so, that's a nice sign that buyers are starting to really take hold and really gain a bit of strength. And then I think it was today. Was looking like it was going to pop up on Friday through $5. It traded $4.99, I think. And at the close, I think it closed at $4.99, and then it just triggered today. It opened at $5, traded around there, and then took off a bit. So that's looking good. Did anyone get into that at all? Just on the alerts? The other one was SAS. We'll take a look at that. Again, SAS, you got that inside continuation. That's looking nice through, I think it was 24.5 was the trigger level. So it hasn't gone too far, but that's, you can see if you just go on a weekly, it'll just go back a bit. It's had a nice run up, but that could easily, there's really nice price patterns in there. And probably if we go back to the daily, you can see that it did a similar type of thing here, all within the major high. You know, you got the lower high here, push down, hold, starting to show good signs of holding a higher low. Had that little run up, but it was all within the context of those previous highs. And then pull back, make another higher low, and then this is where the action starts to begin, and it really starts to accelerate higher. We could potentially be looking at a similar type of thing. Yeah, if we just drill back down. You know, you've got that lower high here, but we're holding higher lows, and that's an inside continuation pattern, we call it, with that push up through 24.5, with these higher lows in place. So you really would expect it to start attacking, you know, these highs at 26.5, and even that high at, say, it was at 28.5, and it could have that another little, we just want to see, and you can see the stochastics in a nice spot as well. It was getting oversold at that stage, extended to the downside, but it was really just getting soaked up, any buys. And they've had some really good news flows, SAS as well. So if you want to just check that out, just go to the website. What are they? Skyandspace.global. So just go onto their website and just check out the most recent news flow they've had. It's been quite good, quite positive. Anyway, any questions on those? There's a couple more. We still got a few running. SSM, yeah, that's positive. We got in, I think it was back here at 121. Had a bit of a pullback here, a bit of a wash out of those lows, and then took off again and spiked up to 28. I think it was thereabouts. Still looking quite good if we can get that push up through 25. I'd love to see that today, going into a holiday tomorrow. That's just going to get, hopefully people come in on Wednesday and just really start pushing that up. But it's looking strong. You can see those high lows are holding, if you can see through there anyway. And on the weekly, it's right up near those highs, just below sort of 130 mark. That's looking good. I'm just trying to figure what else do we have here. MVF, that's the same. We got in that at I think it was 191 thereabouts, but it was back here. So we got into that little spike higher. Then it spent a lot of time sort of edging back below 190, but it was really just in context to what really holding high lows, and then got a little accelerated move up through $2. So this is really the 210 mark is what we got to contend with now. So we don't know where this is going to start to roll over, but sort of debating whether to take a partial just now and just let the rest run, just because things are starting to look at getting a bit extended. It could potentially be that lower high, but we'll see how it goes anyway. CCP is another good one. That someone in here, I think, actually alerted to that a while ago. Looks fantastic. We were looking at it, but I just tend to forgot about that for a while, and someone popped it up, and that price structure was just ideal. You can see through 16, it was just holding those high lows. Probably we'll get it up on a bigger chart. Well, probably not that big. You can see it was holding high lows through 16, and the lower highs are pressing down into it. But the buyers were just soaking up nicely when you got this little pop up through here. Say it was through 1725, that little pop up here. In here was an ideal entry setup. So that's going nicely. You just want to see how. And the weekly is still quite strong. You can see the stochastics pointing up. That price action is really strong. It's just got a zone around that 1850, which we've got to contend with just at the moment. But we'll see how that plays out. Looks good. Just got a few phone calls through there, but we'll get back to them later. So any questions on what we've shown there before we open it up and we chuck in some trades? Is there anything anyone wants to look at? Otherwise, I'll just keep going on. There's a few other little things we can discuss. All right. Okay. anything you want, and just chucking. If there's anything you want to look at, guys, just chuck into the chat. Any stock at all, and I'll just go through a few others now. I've wrote a few down, just in the way of price structure. Yeah, no, you're right, Nathan. There's some stocks that play out beautifully, and that. What was it again? CCP that's ideal. You can see that accelerated move down, so that's washing out a few longs. And really that anchor level was probably just around that 16. It's had that little accelerated move higher. Pushed down, but it was still within that anchor. So it's still within that trend. Started popping up. You still got those sellers starting to take control there. Holding high lows, washed them out, but it really didn't go too far either. It just was really retesting 16. So they were just soaking it up around 16. Lower highs they were trying. The shorts were trying, or the sellers were trying. Then this little push up here, I love seeing that type of thing. And if you just take it back a step on the weekly, if you've got this type of move up, it could potentially, and we've just got to get through 1850, and I think this has got a lot of legs in it. May take a bit of time to play out, but that price action is very nice. Really like that. New Farms, I love New Farm too. I just like, as an example, we'll just go through that. The reason why I really like this price action on New Farm, I spent a lot of time. If we just get back in a bit closer, we'll draw it up. Is if we look at it, you can see through here, this little run up here, and then it's come down, but it's really just holding high lows. And that's really nice. And then it started spending, really, say, I guess you can say from here, what's that, November, through holding below those lows, right up until, that was only a few days ago, end of March, say. So I spent a lot of time really contracting and holding those high lows. And that's what you like to see, a lot of work done. They spent a lot of time building for that move and that little push. And that's where you get the potential for these accelerated moves higher. So anyone that's been looking in here and it's got that little pop up here, they're expecting a pullback. You know, maybe, if we just draw this a bit nicer. So anyone that's been watching it, they might be expecting a pullback down to here to get that high low and build. You know, just to go through, so that, which is not as strong a move, that leg up is not as strong because it's a deep correction. But when they start washing out, especially on this candle here, if you can see that, probably a bit tougher. Let me just draw it. I just want to get this up a bit closer. And that's probably harder to see in that stream. That's probably just a little bit too much. All right, here we go. We've got it. Can you see this a bit better, guys? Just let me know when it's up. So that's it there. So anyone that's really looking at it, so if you're expecting a deeper correction, this is where you get caught out. There was a nice little spike through here. That's not a weekly chart, is it? No. It didn't come out. Don't know why sometimes when you take a snapshot it doesn't come out, but there's a nice little wick on this green candle just in here. Nice little wick. It really got rejected. So it's opened, sold off somewhere around 9:30 and it got rejected and closed on its highs. That's nice seeing that. And then you get these higher lows holding just in here. So this is going to catch a lot of people up, a lot of people off guard when you see this rush up through resistance, a pullback. People probably expecting a deeper correction to get a better price. It doesn't. It makes that cup and handle type of play, which we like to see, contracting on each other. And then you get that break up through a nice solid level, say 975 ideally, which turned out to be probably a little bit early with us. But that's a beautiful type of setup. And that could lead to a nice accelerated move. You can see the last couple of days have been quite good candles, quite solid sessions to the upside. So really once it gets up through, say 995 to 10, if you can push up through there the next day or two, maybe not tomorrow obviously, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, by the end of the week, I think they could really accelerate higher because it's done a lot of buying through here, and that's always nice to see, that type of buying through here, and then you got that little cup and handle just forming in there. So I like to see that work sort of done, and then you're just looking for these pop up through, pull back, and you get that little high-low build, which doesn't come back, and it catches people off guard. Then you find that people start chasing it up. And at the very least, what that does for you with your trades and your setups is getting ahead of, even if you get it wrong, if it pulls up short of 995 even, these previous highs, and starts contracting lower, you've at least got some time up your sleeve, you've got some profit in the bank, just to really, I guess, negate a loss is what I'm trying to say, because you got in nice and early, you've anticipated by knowing what you're expecting from the price action and what you're expecting to see. Once you get that, just puts you ahead of the curve. So anyone that's looking to just buying it a bit late is going to be behind the curve, and they're going to be probably maybe taking a bit of heat of the trade initially. You've got time to make some choices, whether you just cut it, take a small gain, take a small loss, or take a break-even trade. You're not risking too much by then anyway. It's beautiful. All right, okay, we'll take a look at that. Was it ALU? Let's have a bit of a look. That's looking good. Just looking at that chart. So this price action, this is probably, it's a tough one actually, because it's just this last leg up, and you can see we're starting to get it extended, potentially making a lower high. But I like what we're seeing already. So ALU is definitely one to have on with the watch list for me anyway. Depending on your style of trading, what I see here, I don't know where you've actually got this on our watch list, but nothing. We had a good solid leg up there, and you can see that accelerated move. So anyone who's bought it, you expect this type of thing, a bit of some lower highs to build, building here. Just as some of those buyers come back out of the market, take their profits, or anyone who's bought it late, with these accelerated moves higher, just really sudden sharp spikes higher. If I spit that out, with these spikes higher, you're going to get people that have bought it late are going to come under a bit of pressure, especially when you get these minor lower highs. It's still within context of this trend up, so it still looks quite good. But those people that bought it there are probably not going to want to take too much heat, and have probably just sold out at potentially a loss. And as you get that selling coming in, you get a few more that have bought it, say, in here. But anyone that's bought it nicely off some price structure, potentially just on a little break up through here, I don't know if you can see that. It's a little minor high-low just in here, have got something up their sleeve still, so they potentially could just hold it. But overall, we'll just go through this. Look, just as of today, it's looking good. And the only reason I say that is because probably before today, it was still holding that contraction resistance lower, and it could have easily, pulled back off here, done this sort of type of thing, punched through those lows, potentially through here at 7, and contracted a bit further. Now that it's broken up here, I like that, because what we're ideally going to be starting to look for, the price action that we're looking for, if we take it just from here, we've had that pullback, that's at 7, and we just started to tip through. Now if we just draw that up in a different colour, what I'd like to see, even if it pops up a bit higher, I'd like to potentially see just after that, bit of contraction lower, and then it's going to hold a major high low. Whether it's just with that, and then you start to see your minor high lows build, and that's going to take us for a potential another leg back up, and then you can buy it, through here. That's what ideally I'd like to see. I think it's slightly early stage. I wouldn't buy it here, because for me, my risk has to be all the way back down below $7. All right, does that make sense there? But I think this contraction here is it's a fair bit of contraction. What was that from about, say, September last year? So what about there for? It's good. It's over half a year of contraction. It's contracted in. We're starting with this recent push up, and you get these solid down days here. It's just washing out a few of those lows. And generally, when you got 1 contraction back up, 2 take out the low, that's tend to be enough, a bit of a nice little washout. Those 2 moves lower, because it catches these people who are buying it a bit early. That catches them back out, washes them back out, and then you get buying starting to build, and you can see that just with that most recent push up, well, pretty much today. So really from here, I just want to see if it goes on without me. so be it. That's the way I trade. I don't mind walking, look at something else, but it's going to probably find a bit of, we've got a zone up near 850. Let's get rid of that. A zone up near 850 or thereabouts, what you'd expect to find a bit of reaction off that zone. And you can see here, it's extended to the upside as well. So it may struggle if it does just keep pushing up into 850. I find that you're probably going to run out of a bit of buying, and then you probably get that reaction lower off there, and then we'll have to see how it goes from there. But it is a big call just from here, just to go up, bang through 850 and just go on with it. So I think we need some fresh buying in there. But we'll see how that goes. It looks good. Either way, it's definitely something to keep on there. AMC, I think it's something I just looked at today, and it's probably seeing it a bit better on that weekly chart. So you can see this move up. I really like the weekly chart on this, actually. And it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Again, the only thing for me is on this weekly, it's getting a bit extended on the weekly side, so I'd be tentative about buying it just now. Depending on what the daily's saying, I would rather see, and the price action is nice. It's probably not quite. Let's go back a step. So there's a nice little level through here, and you've even got that little washout. Contraction in, got the little lower highs in here. A washout of it. So this little washout of the highs led to a nice little move down. Another washout led to a nice move down. Then you got the washout on the reverse side of the support, and that's led to a nice leg up. So then hopefully we're just going to rinse and repeat and do the same type of price action here. So we've got that level through here at 14. We've had a spike through. It's popped back up, made a lower high, say just through, was it 1525, thereabouts. We've gone down, tested it. We did wash out those highs. We had another go at that 14 mark, but that's held, and that low's held. And then we've gone and we've had a nice last few weeks have been up quite solid. And we've just taken out that high probably the last week or so. Was it 1550? What I'd like to see from here, I'd just like to see that's that recent leg up from the support. I'd just like to see a bit of a pullback, maybe contraction, and then start to hold some high lows for that move back up, and maybe some accelerated move back up and through 1550 or 1575, and that's where I think you're going to get a nice. We probably built up some nice high lows, some nice price action, and that's enough support to take us up and through those highs at 1650. We'll see how that plays out. But just bearing in mind that daily chart for me is starting to get, that weekly chart's getting a bit extended to the upside, so a bit of heat has to come out of that market. I would expect that. We just get it back. That daily chart, I mean, if you're buying it just through that break up through here, it's looking okay, but I think like I said, I think a bit of heat coming out of the weekly market on the weekly chart, may mean that this push higher is going to be short-lived, and it may just catch a few people off guard and then wash them back out on the downside. But if we do get that, if it plays out like I expect, get that major high-low building on the weekly basis, and that should be enough emphasis to take us up and through and really have a nice trade there. But definitely that price action there is looking good. MQA. All right, let's just get a bit of a look here, see what's happening. Yeah, WMN, we'll have a look at that. Clement, how you going, mate? Anyway, hope you're doing well. Let's take a look at MQA, Macquarie Atlas. This to me, I want to see a lot more contraction, to be honest, on this. It's heading high, and you've got those higher lows that are holding, but in context, this could potentially be a lower high on a major time frame in regards to, with respect to $6, say those highs at $6. If we just drop this weekly, so I'm just going to step back. If we can just draw that up, make it a bit clearer. It happened again. I did it again, didn't I? Now, there's some good choices there, okay. What was I drawing? Let me just get in here. You'll probably hear my kids in the background there, getting a bit angry, a bit antsy. Alright, so that's at 540 level, which, you know, you've had a nice leg up here, and that was really, through here was a good sort of consolidation zone. It just bounced around through there, held some high lows in here, and then started breaking up. We've had a new leg up all the way to, you know, from about 320 up to $6. That type of price action, I'm not too, I don't like to see that too much. And say that support, potentially longer term support, could be all the way down here. Well, if we just take that out, actually, let's just draw, even if you're looking at these highs through here. That could, it's only because I'm seeing this move up here. You know, you've got sold off quite strong. That coincides to sort of this low, or this extended to the downside. This oversold territory here with this move down just in here. We've had that nice strong bounce. It got overbought, but that's a lower high in comparison to $6. Okay, and we're having another go. So we got a bit early, got bought up. You can see on the stochastics. So we got sold down. It was quite a good little move down here, and that's that little move down to 460. But then we're starting to get a bit overbought, and we're starting to struggle up towards that 540 mark. So for me, look, if this is going to be a lower high, this could be the hallmarks of, you know, a bit of a major push lower, and potentially, we don't know just yet, but potentially a bit of corrective action on the longer term charts. But the thing is for me, still, it's in that I guess in that zone where it is still holding higher lows on the weekly chart. You've got these higher lows just pressing up, pushing up into that zone. I'm just thinking that a bit of heat needs to come out of there. The MAs are still heading higher, but you've just got this most recent price action on the weekly, which is just a bit concerning for me. If we look at that daily, and you can see on the daily too, I mean, not that I look at that as such, we just take it back. Just bearing in mind what's happening, you can see that most recent high. Just bearing in mind what's happening. So this is that high we just spoke up towards $6. You've got a level just up at here around 540. You know, if we're pressing up into that zone now, and even the dailies, it's getting a bit extended. You've got divergence up there. You know, there's a few technical indicators which are starting to show signs of price struggling just up there, and you've had a nice move down, a good move up. So I just think we probably, if anything, if we're going to hold this daily trend higher, I just think we're going to have to do a bit of contraction, maybe start to hold. So a fair bit of work to come, I think, anyway, just before, if it's going to hold and just start to push back up. But we'll see how that plays out, and that just sort of coincides with that weekly chart. So I think on a weekly basis, maybe, you know, especially if you start building that long term, so you've got a high up here, a longer term lower high, you've got your shoulder. There's a lot of reasons why this market could just tip over. Or sorry, this share price could tip over. We'll just have to see. Could be completely wrong. We might get a bit of contraction. It might be on a daily basis where we do a bit of work, and that's going to get some heat out of the market too on a weekly basis. So we'll see how it plays out anyway. What was the last one? Well, that was it, wasn't it? How do you go there, Kay? You agree with those, or you've something that you want to add in there? What do we got there? WMN. Gee, this is a tough one to check it out. It's been up a lot higher than that. I think you mentioned this one before, did you? So it's had a nice little, you know, we spent time banging around that 1.5 cents. Obviously, some good news flows popped up there. You know, what did you say? Recently acquired an old cobalt mine. Yeah. So with that, if that's the trigger of it, they bought the mine, they've got to start drilling it, you know, you've got to get some news flow, I think, for this to start kicking up. So it's obviously been bought up on the back of them acquiring that, by the looks of it. Sorry, Kay, just saw your comment there. Yeah, that's great. So they're some crackers there, so good ones to keep an eye on. There could be potentially some good moves there. So with this one, is it Western Mining? with this move up here, I'm guessing that was on the back of them acquiring that cobalt mine. Then the market, a bit of heat's coming out of the market, is holding some higher lows, so it still could be good. But just this rejection on Friday, it could just be, and it could just tip over and then come back down and make a deeper corrective move. Probably because, yeah, exactly. So I think the market, if you start getting some good news flow through, start getting some decent news flow through where they start drilling and come out with some good results, and that starts building your picture, then I think what you'd probably find there is, you get those other buyers starting to step in, not the more aggressive ones, I guess, but you're starting to get people that have got a bit more confirmation. They're starting to look at the buy-in because really that weekly chart has got a lot of upside. Geez, you can do quite well on that. Even what was that last high? Even up to 6.5 or 7. From here, you still got a good little. Your risk reward. You've just got to get that volume come into it, and that news flow, I think, is the next step for it. But definitely something to keep on the mind, keep on the radar. Gee, I don't think I've recovered from the weekend anyway. A bit tongue-tied today. Tongue-tied. Anything else there, guys, you want to chuck in? CYB and HG. Actually, HGG is something I wanted to talk about too. So thanks, Paul. I'll just have a quick look at that first, I think. The reason why I want to look at HGG, it's more from a pure price action move. If you look at this type of price action, it's not too bad. Okay, it's this most recent, and please, everyone, feel free to disagree or agree or whatever you want. Ask some questions, just what you think. If you look at it from left to right, of what's happening on this chart, we've got that little move up. Say it was somewhere around 640. A bit of an accelerated move down, and that got bought up. So you can see this type of price action down, and the period that it happened over, probably about a month and a half. Spent the rest of the best part of 4 months pushing back up, but got nowhere near those highs of 650. And this type of price action, when you get that little run up, sell off, holds a higher low, little push up, pull back, holds another high low, little push up. But in context of this move down, it's really just contracting that move down. So this type of price action suggests to me that there's more downside to come. Not that, it's easy in hindsight, obviously, but then you've got another strong sell-off. And again, the time that it spent selling off was quite hard and fast. It was only over the period of a month to month and a half. After spending 4 to 5 months trying to build a bit of a base and starting to push higher, so anyone who's buying it in there just got washed back out of the market. All right, so that buying in here, and we've had that little push back down into that support. We've had that little push up. Again, same sort of thing. It's been a few months coming, but this time round, that push back down, we only come into support, and then we started holding, and then that little push back up. So you're starting to get buyers from here are starting to step in, and again, that's after 1 contraction, 2 moves down. So a lot of the time, it takes 2 solid moves down to wash out a few buyers, or enough buyers to get them back on the sidelines, ready to trade again. Yeah. Okay. I'll see 96 to 70, a triple bottom, yeah. So potentially this could be a triple bottom, but just that's on a daily chart. So it is potentially what we're seeing here is a higher low, okay? What I just want to mark up, and I think if we go back to that weekly chart, if you just step it back on that weekly, we actually at a nice little level. If you forget about this type of price action, so we've had that nice strong move up to 650, from about $1.25 or thereabouts. Just looking at this price action, I'll draw it up. So I just want to step back to the weekly before we continue on the daily chart, because for me, the way I see it now, it's an each way bet. Okay, I see just as much potential for a good downside move as an upside move. But the key is, where we are on the weekly chart. So that weekly, you've had that move up, it's contracted lower, and that's been the base for a new move up. We've come all the way back down into that base. We've popped back up. We've washed it out. We're still holding lower highs, and that's probably the problem just at the moment. And it's this recent price action here. This could easily lead to another lower high and that punch through that support zone. And purely we can see where that stochastics has got into that overbought zone. You're getting a bit extended to the upside. You're failing to get up towards, if this was a positive market, you'd expect it to be up at least at 420 or at least punch through, up to 440 and then pull back, build that high low and then go again. The fact that it hasn't got up there is a bit concerning. Nothing too much, or that could just simply suggest that there's still a bit of work to do. On the weekly basis, I like the fact that it's let's go back. I like the fact that it's washed out these lows, previous lows. It's washed it out. It's come back and retested. I think that's 340. That's really nice price action, but it's still just these lower highs that are concerning. Does that make sense there, Paul? Or anyone? Does that make sense, just what I'm saying on the weekly chart? So if you're looking at this purely on a weekly basis, I want to see it get through 440, 420, say. Just this little high in here. I want to see it punch up there. And then if I'm looking at longer term, I just want to see, then I want to see, you're going to have a bit of reaction maybe off 450 anyway. Once you get up through there, I think that's going to bring in more buyers. I think, but at the moment, the fact that there is potential for this to have a weekly lower high. What's going to happen from there, we don't know. That's why we have to go back down to the daily charts. Just to get a bit more of a heads up. So you're trying to start from the weekly. We're building the picture off the weekly and just see if we get confirmation on the daily, or is the daily telling us something different. So if we go to that now, it's not telling me anything if I can't get enough. But that daily is, like you said, Paul, it's got that triple bottom. You've built that high low in here. The only thing, like I said, is concerning me is just this recent price action up here. And the reason why I mentioned that price action actually before, around here, that contraction, you get the little minor high lows, minor high highs, and then it just capitulated through there. This type of price action, when you do this choppy price action, it is holding high lows, but in context to a weekly lower high. So are you just pushing up into resistance, falling short, and then having a big sell-off, or is this longer term contracted action? I'm sort of favouring. I'm guessing I'm with you there, Paul. The weekly, it's in a fantastic zone there. I just think there's a little bit more work to do on this one. And potentially what I'd like to see, if we can just probably draw it up, I'd like to see, if we just draw that up now. So you've sort of got this 450 is probably going to, 420. That's that 450 zone. Okay, up near 450 is probably going to provide a bit of reaction. But it's just this type of price action. We got one, pull back, high, low, high, low, blah, 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 all the way back up. So that's not so good. If we start pulling back and then build, from there, just that little pullback and then build a lower high, generally that's going to take us through the lower high, through this little level there, if you can understand what I'm talking about. We build a lower high then there and we just drop down. Can anyone, does that make any sense to everyone? At this stage, if we build that lower high in here, that's where we could tip over, break through this support zone. It'll probably be somewhere around 380 to 90 at that stage, and then start selling off. And then you've got to start just keep an eye on those lows. What's going to happen? Is there going to be a bit of reaction and start to hold a weekly high low and start to hold a nice little high low to start working some long entries off? So yeah, this is one I did just look at before, and I thought, okay, I looked at the weekly and I thought, weekly looks great. I think a bit more work to do on the weekly. So if I'm just trading off the weekly, I want to see it get through, say, 420, 450, and then I want to see that little pullback to build that high low and go. But then I flicked it over to the daily and thought, oh, hang on a sec. The weekly and the daily, they could be a short, but that short could be short-lived and pull up short somewhere around 355, 360, and then start. If we can just draw that now, we've got that pop up, and then we start getting this type of price action, and then buyers start stepping in, and we get that little high low build somewhere around this 360 zone potentially. But we'll have to see how that plays out. This is something that we've got on the radar anyway. Does that make sense there, Paul? All good? Do you believe me? Let's look at CYB then for you. Let's just flick it back a chart. Okay, so that's all the action now, I'm guessing. Yep. So we don't need the weekly, really. CYB. Definitely, well, let's just draw it up. I guess for me it's a tad too high just at this present time, but saying that, is that the one you said? CYB? Why is that wrong? CYB, no, okay. Is that the chart there, Paul, you're talking about? So it's got a little base through here, somewhere around 360. You know, had that good solid push up, and that's when it initially float. I guess it takes off. Bit of a pullback. Retest that. Push back up. Tried to pull back, and you can see this is just that price action we said just a second ago on HGG in reverse. You know, 1, 2, but in context of this move up, it's really just contracting in. And then I guess this is a good little thing just to take note of when you're looking at different levels, different chart, what's happening is the bias to the upside or is the bias to the downside. And you just got to build that type of, build the picture. And here at this stage, I would have been looking at this going, okay, it's pushed down, pop back up, built that lower high. So I would have expected a nice strong move down if that didn't come up. And then you can see we pop back up. So you've just taken out these lows, but only mildly. And that's a good sign for any long position. So from there, you just want to see that high low build. And we sort of got a, more of a retest of that zone, and that led to a little pop up through the high. Didn't go on with it too strong, and then we started doing that price action again, lower highs. We pulled back into the zone. We've just sort of held or retested this level just in here. We're really just retesting it again, if that makes sense. But it's in context of the second time round, when it holds up a second time, that's a lot stronger for me. And I do like that. So it's more of a retest fail, we call it, double bottom, like an inside double bottom. So that could be a potential base to start working. So what I'd like to see here, and you can see it just now, it's starting to pop up and out. So I'd want to see that little, maybe this as a little double top, starts creating those sellers coming in and a bit of a pullback, and that's similar type of price action. So it's more contractive action than everyone rushing for the door at the same time. So that's more of an easing out, a controlled selling, and that's more of just profit taking than everyone bailing out at the same time and just getting scared for whatever reason. Okay, and then we can see those higher lows are starting to hold, and then a press back up and take us. So I'd like to see that, 440, 450, 460 even. These higher lows hold. It's enough of a move, pull back into the range, a bit of a pullback, so people can be happy to buy. Okay, I know where my risk is going to be, just below that higher low that builds potentially, and then we want to see that accelerated move high that's going to take us up and through $5. All right, so we'll see how this one goes, but if that's making sense, guys, the major price action, you've got double bottom here, and you've probably got another double bottom here, so that's a nice positive sign over the longer term. So we're looking to break that down on the shorter term time frames, the daily time frame, what's happening on the daily. So you're only really concerned with what is the hard right edge of the chart, what's happening on the hard right edge. So for now, if I was going to be trading this, I want to be looking for that buy. Obviously on the longer term, I think it's a buy. I just want the shorter term to add to that longer term structure and see if we can get that shorter term time frame to show us an entry setup. And that potentially, because you're basing it off the longer term as well, is going to lead to a nice little, potentially a nice leg up. And if you get this type of thing, be awesome. And that high is right up at 590, so there could be a bit of legs in it. Your risk reward is going to be at least 2-3 to 1, I'd say, maybe better. And that's what we're really trying to base our trades off. So I hope that makes sense. Any questions on that? We'll probably just call it a day there. And I've still got some coffee. It's stone cold at the moment. All right. Any questions on those? Just before we call it quits, let's just see where the market is at the moment. Bit of reaction off those highs around 990 on New Farm, but still looking good. BWX is holding up there. CCP is still looking good. SSM looking good. SAS hasn't done too much, hasn't gone on with it too much, but that price action looks really nice. We'll see how that goes. that's probably about it. All right. We'll call it a day there, guys. We'll have a nice day tomorrow, everyone. Hope you enjoy your day off. There'll be no alerts obviously coming out tomorrow, but a public holiday. There's nothing to say, nothing to do. But we'll be back on board on Wednesday, and then we'll be doing the stream again on Thursday. So back on Thursday. Any questions, just be prepared. Bring them to the chat, and we'll just get into it. All right, guys, have a great day tomorrow, and enjoy yourself, and we'll speak to you soon.